Chapter 1. Crippled. October 3rd, 2076, 2 days after the release of Awaken online. "No!" Finn screamed. His heart was beating rapidly, his pulse pounding in his ears. It felt like he was drowning, a heavy weight settling on his chest. With great heaving breaths, he tried to suck in air. His arm was outstretched, his fingers twitching as he strained to save a ghost. All at once, Finn realized he was sitting in his bed, in his home. There was no car. There was no accident. That had happened a long time ago, more than a decade now. These facts settled in his mind, each one feeling like a heavy blow. In some ways, they were even more painful than his dream. They meant that it had been real, that he was alive, and his wife was... His hand automatically reached for the familiar spot beside him. It was empty. Of course it was empty. Yet that hadn't stopped him from making the same feeble gesture every time he had that dream. "Fuck," he muttered. He felt something wet trickle down his cheek, and soon tasted salt on his lips. A soft chime echoed through the air, and light slowly began to filter into the room. Windows lined the wall behind the bed. The thick metal shutters opened automatically with a faint hiss of hydraulics, letting the morning sunlight trickle through the bulletproof glass that lined the windows on the other side. "Good morning, sir. Are you all right? The dream again?" A male voice spoke up, his voice thick with compassion. A translucent ball of sapphire light appeared beside the bed, projected from hidden cameras embedded in the walls. Finn just rubbed at his face without responding. There was little genuine sympathy in the AI's voice. He knew it was fake. He had programmed it, after all. It was an attempt to simulate emotion. It didn't actually feel. It was Pavlovian, like a digital dog. It picked up on his behavior, the shout, his heartbeat and respiration recorded by the chips installed under his skin, the gesture toward the empty half of his bed. The AI knew that this combination of behaviors meant that it needed to act a certain way. But it couldn't understand his pain. "Yes, Daniel," Finn croaked. He had named the AI. It had made things easier. "Would you like a moment?" Daniel asked. Another canned response. The AI was on script this morning. Finn shook his head. "No, I just need to get moving." A soft chime in response, and a chair wheeled into the room, gliding over toward the edge of the bed. "Would you like any help, sir?" Daniel asked. "I'm good," Finn grunted, as he did every morning. Someday he would have to accept the AI's assistance, when his body finally grew too old and feeble to do this on his own. But it damn sure wouldn't be today. He would live with the full weight of his mistakes for as long as he could. Finn gripped his legs, feeling nothing as his fingers touched the bare skin. He forcefully shoved the dead limbs to the edge of the bed, and then managed to maneuver himself into the chair with practiced movements. He knew the next steps. Wheel himself to the bathroom, brush his teeth, shower. That was always hard. Then the task of pulling on his clothes. The ritual was familiar. He even knew exactly how long it would take, plus or minus about 90 seconds. Yet today, he paused, staring down at his legs. This was the price he had paid. After the accident, the doctors had offered him several options. He could have regrown the damaged nerve endings in his spine, replaced his legs with advanced robotics, connecting cold metal wires into what was left of his damaged nervous system, or a half-dozen other possibilities he couldn't remember anymore. He had turned them all down. His wife hadn't had any of those options, so he would live with this as a reminder. Sir? Daniel asked, giving off a faint blue pulse as he spoke. Another canned response. He had been sitting still for too long. Even now he could visualize the branching dialogue tree from here. He knew exactly what Daniel would say if he didn't start moving. "I'm fine," Finn said again, as though saying it out loud would make it true. He didn't sound very convincing, even to himself. With a sigh, he began wheeling himself toward the bathroom. 1 hour and 37 minutes. That's how long it would take to get ready. Then he could start his day. 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 47 seconds later, Finn wheeled himself into the kitchen, palming the metal bars on the wheels. He refused to use the chair's electronics. He needed the exercise anyway. The old man that had stared back at him in the mirror had looked rather pale and thin, and it had been a struggle to lift himself in and out of the shower this morning. The lights immediately came on, Daniel drifting into the room like some sort of overprotective blue angel. However, Finn was forced to do a double take. Something about his routine was off. There was the familiar tang of coffee in the air, but he could also smell food cooking on the stove. He wheeled himself further into the room. Daniel had been busy. Piles of bacon and eggs were lined up on the counter. Mechanical arms stretched out of the backsplash, stirring and flipping as they prepared another batch of food on the stovetop. "What is this, Daniel?" Finn asked. "You know I prefer to make my own breakfast." "Sir, it is October 3rd, Daniel replied. "I know what day it is."